What is up, YouTube? KM888 here with my Traptrix deck list post Phantom Nightmare. Now I am gonna go over this pretty in depth, and I hope you'll like the list. This weekend I'm gonna go to a OTS championship, so I'm gonna hope it's gonna do well. But let's just go into the deck profile. First things first, we're on triple Myrmilio. We're on triple Mantis. These are the most important starters. You want them every time. It gives you Serra plus a back row. That's the thing that I'm going for. So this is super important. Next up, I am running double Dionea. You need it, simple as that. And only double Pudica this time. I wanted to lower the Traptrix count a little bit. Because I am running a 40 card deck this time, not 41. And I wanted to maintain some kind of a percentage of consistency. So I went with 2 Pudica. I'm also on 2 Field Spell. I think 2 Field Spell is better than 3 Pudica and 1 Field Spell, because opening Mantis plus Field Spell is like broken. So yeah, I put this down to 2 for this tournament specifically. And then the one-offs are Vesiculo and Arachnocampa. These come up in their own situations, in their own rights. They are amazing. You don't really want to hard draw them, but if you see one, it's just an extender, so you don't mind. That's already it for the Traptrix monsters. 12 pieces in a 40 card deck. That's actually really good. You only want to see one of them and you're already happy with it. Of course, if you see Pudica, it would be great to see a second one with it, but yeah. Then for the rest of the engine, we're on double Field Spell. I think Field Spell is just bunkers. If you have Mantis plus Field Spell, that's full combo. You can go into any line that you want with that. It's crazy. Triple Holotea. Holotea is obviously the best one. You need it at 3. Double Gravedigger Strap Hole. I think in this format specifically, there would be even a case to run 3, because everything triggers in the grave or in the hand. I'm on 2 Gravedigger Strap Hole just because I don't want to brick on it too much, but the card is just nuts. And the 2000 damage in this build is actually important, and you'll see why in a couple of later on in the video. The thing that I also like about Gravedigger Strap Hole is when you're up against things like Labyrinth or just a deck that's relying on the transaction rollback. They pay 4,000 to use transaction rollback, and then double Gravedigger Strap Hole is really easy to game them, so yeah. And then the last Trap Hole that I'm running is Traptrix Trap Hole Nightmare this format. So I went off of the Floodgate Trap Hole because I found the card to be not that great. Like against Fire King or against Snake Eye, if you set one of their monsters, it doesn't really do anything. Like they mostly run link monsters, and they can just they just link everything off. And if they are on the Fire King build, the Field Spell itself, it can pop face downs. So yeah, I mean, they don't care. So, and at least having this in the Fire King matchup, it seems really bad to destroy their monsters, but you use it specifically for the Garunix, because if it triggers on field to try and pop something from the deck, you can Traptrix Nightmare it without a problem, because the Garunix doesn't have a destruction effect, so it doesn't do anything when it is destroyed. And then of course you can just hit the links, like just hitting anything that on the, like a Selene, for instance. If you hit the Selene with this, it's also really good because you get rid of the Link 3. Getting rid of the Zelantis, for instance, is also really, really good. Stuff like that. So the Nightmare is actually better than the Floodgate Trap Hole this format, I feel. So yeah. And with that, we have, I think 20. Yeah, 20 engine pieces. And that's half of the deck, so that's you have a really good chance of actually opening a couple of them. This is probably the strangest thing. I'm only on 1 pot of Prosperity this format. Droll and Luck is everywhere, and I don't want to get this stuck in my hand all the time, because the thing that you want to do is you want to open Myrmilio, you want to open Mantis, get Tear Searches, and then you want to go Prosperity. for anything non-engine towards the end of the combo, right? And with a draw and lock format, you just play into it more with this. The reason I'm still playing one is just to up my consistency, and it was basically like it does count as the 40th card, like you would run an upstart or something, but I didn't want to run another non-engine piece. Just this glues the deck up together a bit, and having the one just like, if you see it, you see it. If you don't, I mean, you have something else, so that's still good. The main reason is I didn't want to run into draw and lock that much anymore, so yeah. And then 19 cards, all non-engine, all going second cards just to combat that one tier 0 deck that's in the format right now. And it does seem crazy, but all you want is one Traptrix monster, like a Mantis, like a Myrmelio, and you're happy. And you want to see 3 or 4 non-engine cards, so yeah. First things first, double Fantastical Dragon Phantasme. This card is pivotal though. It is extremely important to run at least 2 copies. I don't like the third because you might open 2. But like running these, make sure that they go for link combos all the time. And there are 2 instances where they have 2 link monsters on the field. And this, like, even drawing this as a 6 card is great, because if they use the Flamberge Dragon to summon the Masquerena, you can still special summon this in your turn as well. And then you fix your hand, which is good. You have Phantasme for your own turn and for their turn, so even if they ash this, it's not that big of a deal. And this is just fixing your hand. It counts like it's basically the second and the third prosperity in fixing your hands going second. But it has an additional use in the fact that it stops targeting. And okay, sure, the Kirin doesn't target to destroy, but the Promethean Princess in the graveyard does. So that's a thing. You can just stop the Promethean Princess for actually resolving. This is also really good against SP Little Knight. So yeah, there's always that. This card is just amazing in this deck specifically. So yeah, I consider running it at 2 for most of you if you're running Traptrix. Triple Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. I still like the card. You just need to know how to play this. Like, if you have a negate for the Snake Eye Ash that isn't Ash Blossom, throw that first, of course. You don't want to get them to go into the Hida. Just get this from the start. Like, keep this as your final interruption. You know where you can use it. There are several instances, like when they tribute a card for their original Sinful Spoils, when they use the Snake Eyes monsters to tribute 2 to summon from the deck. There are extremely good points to Ash Blossom, because you take away 2 cards for 1, and that's way more important. And you might stop them from getting out of Flamberge Dragon, which is also really good. Double Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion. I decided to main deck these for 2 reasons. 1, the Promethean Princess. If it activates in the graveyard, whether you have this in their turn to stop a play, or whether you have it in your turn to stop an interruption, it is convenient. It is a handy card. You can use it in both scenarios. The second reason is the Kirin effect. Because Kirin special summons from hand or graveyard, you can always Ghost Bell it, which is also really good. You just stop the destruction, and you stop an additional body from hitting the board. So Ghost Bell, really good card. Triple Droll and Lock Bird. Sure, cards like Droll and Lock, Nibiru, Super Poly, evenly matched. Like, they all don't stop the Snake Eyes build. But Droll and Lockbird actually has the highest chance to stop them, because if they open Bonfire as their starter, this actually stops their play. So it's really important to actually see the Droll and Lockbirds. Now, I have an ulterior motive to running Droll and Lock, which is in my extra deck. You'll see it later on. But having the Droll and Locks are actually really important, because they just slim down what they can make with their board. And that gives you an opportunity to break through it with other hand traps, with your engine. So yeah, you just want to do it. You want to be able to do that. Double Nibiru, the Primal Being. These kind of have the same function as the draw and lock birds, because they water down the Fire King end board. Like, if you do this on the right spot, sure, you don't really stop them, but their board is going to be significantly less big. So yeah, Nibiru, really good. The reason why I also like Nibiru and Phantasmaze right now is if you have the field spell, you can just banish these to extend into your Traptrix line, which is kind of fun. One Veiler and triple Imperm. Now, the one Veiler might seem weird, but I wanted to play 4 Imperms, and you can't play 4 Imperms, so yeah, 3 Imperms and a Veiler. You'll use this mostly on the Snake Eye Ash if you see them, and that's important, trying to stop their first play so they can't extend. The Veiler and Imperm also make sure that they can't use the Ashes effect to tribute to summon from the deck, which is actually really good and important, so yeah. And then the only actual board breaker card that I'm playing is triple Cosmic Cyclone. So I'm on 16 hand traps right now and 3 board breakers, which is crazy. That's really a lot. Now the Cosmic Cyclones are specifically really good because against every deck in the format right now, these are decent. And against Fire King, if they have a field spell, this is just like, this breaks their entire board. And if you have the correct number of hand traps with it, like a Bell or a Phantasme, you can just let them build their board, Cosmic their field, everything gets wiped, and if they try to interrupt your plays, you have Bell, you have Phantasme, you can play off of those in your turn as well, which is really fun. Nibiru as well, if they have their full board, and you draw Nibiru as a 6th card, if they start interrupting you, they get to 5 summons in your turn, and you can actually Nibiru in your own turn to break their board, which is stupid, but it's great as well, so yeah. No Super Polys in the main. I decided to cut them. Not specifically because I needed the extra deck space or something, but I came into a situation where you don't always get to use the Super Polys. If you're up against the Synchro build of Snake Eye, they end on Baron and Savage Dragon. So by that standard, you already want to play the Draco Equist, but I didn't have the room for that in my extra deck, so I'd have to make more room just to counter each and every one of the builds that is possible, and I just found that really tedious. I just cut the Super Polys, I put in the 3rd Cosmic, breaks the board just as well, and against the Synchro build, you just rely on the hand traps to stop them, so yeah, I mean, it seems really fine. About these, the Ghost Bells and the Ash Blossoms, these are specific, also really good against Labyrinth, of course. The fact that you have 5 of them in your main deck is crazy for the Labyrinth matchup. It's really good. And then, I think those two are the most common matchups right now, like the Fire King and the Labyrinth. Against other decks, these the Ashes are really good against Branded, the Bells are really good against Branded as well. There's just so much that you can do. But yeah, 40 card main deck. Hope you guys liked that already. As you might have seen in my previous videos, I decided to not run Parallel Exceed, not run Shade Brigandine. There are bricks if your Traptrix lineup gets interrupted. Like, for instance, this is a really good example. You make Serra, and you have Parallel Exceed. So on the summon of Serra, you go Parallel Exceed effect, and they chain their Promethean Princess in the graveyard. Okay, now this gets popped. Serra is gone, your Parallel gets stuck in hand. Yay, a dead card. That Parallel Exceed could have been a Bell to protect your Serra, for instance. That way you keep this on board, you can extend with your traps, with your other cards. Yeah, you just have to look a little bit further and just extending your own plays, because the standard board that a 1-card combo for a Fire King makes already stops the Serra. So even if you go Shade Brigandine, you can't trigger the Serra. It's like, The Promethean Princess is there. They have so many ways of removal. This won't get to the field. So, but yeah, links. We have triple Traptrix Seta, Masquerena, SP Little Knight. I added the Masquerena while I cut it to Super Polys. The targets, of course, for a specific reason. So I'm going to show you, like, right now. So we have Masquerena, we have Little Knight. The link 3 is Oedipus. And then I'm also on Borrowload and Underworld Goddess. Underworld Goddess gives me an out against Purity, just in case that I still see it. It gives me an out for bigger monsters, just in case. Like, it's really great. It's just removal. That's already really good. Masquerena makes it so that you can even use it on your opponent's turn to go into the Underworld Goddess. So you have an additional play with that. And then the most important, Masquerena plus Borrowload. You cannot use monster effects anymore to target my Borrowload because of its own effect. You cannot destroy it with card effects. If you try to crash into the Borrowload with, for example, a Flamberge Dragon, I can use this effect to make your monster minus 500 attack, so you can't even get over this in battle. The standard engine of Fire King or Snake Eye can't really get over a Borrowload that's been made with an IP Masquerena. You can't target it with SP Little Knight. You cannot target it with Flamberge to put it in the spell and trap zone. So the standard outs that they had aren't applicable here. So they have to go into their big-ass boss monsters to remove this. They have to go into Zelantis to try and banish everything on the field, return it, to make it lose the Masquerena protection. But that's why that I'm also like... That's like the reason that I'm playing this, like the Traptrix Trap Hole Nightmare over the Floodgate Trap Hole. Because the Floodgate doesn't stop Zelantis. Traptrix Trap Hole Nightmare does. So you protect the Borrowload from certain situations. Another out that they might have is the Raging Phoenix from Salamangreat or an Access Code Talker. And in that scenario, you might have the easiest play, of course. You have Holotea from Graveyard into your Pudica to banish that card. And you just, if you have this play set up, like the Borrowload Dragon on field with the Masquerena, you can just form your plays to play around the triple threat of the Link Falls. You can make sure you have your way against Atlantis, Access Code, or the Salamangreat, Raging Phoenix, whatever it's called. If you stop those three, this card actually is... I don't think it's really outable for the deck. There might be ways, like with Triple Tactics Talent, try to not play into that. But if most of the hand is known, like you can really play around a lot of stuff, and this is just fun to have at that point. It's really good that there is a way to pressure, and that's really important. So yeah, that's it for the links. I think this is really important. Another reason I'm just playing the Borrowloads, like, this card is just nuts. You can't target with monster effects, so no Promethean Princess on its own, no SP Little Knight, stuff like that, and just having the boss monster, like, they don't often stop the little ones. They don't often stop, like, the small plays, so they wait for your big play, and then when it's a Borrowload, they're like, oh, I can't stop that one, so, yeah. But yeah, that's it for the links. Then for the exceeds, I'm on 1 Pinguicula, I'm on 1 Rafflesia, I'm on 1 Time Thief Redoer. It should just as well be named Traptrix Time Thief Redoer. Card is just too good in this deck. Yeah, these are really fine. Like, Rafflesia is kind of pivotal because if you have this on the board, they can't destroy or target any of your other monsters, so they have to go for this one. And you have Gravedigger Trap Hole to protect this from the Promethean Princess. Pinguicula, when they destroy something for their effects, you can just take that monster with Pinguicula, so it's really fun to do. Like a really neat trick that I like is when they use Garudix to destroy a Kirin in their deck. The Kirin will trigger and you'll chain Pinguicula taking the Kirin, so they can't pop the Pinguicula with the Kirin anymore because it's underneath it as a material and it's unaffected by the same monster types. So yeah, I just like Pinguicula in that matchup. Typhon is really good. Just the fact that even if your plays are stopped, you can just slap this over. Has 2900 attack to run something over. You can bounce something. It's just amazing. Another thing that I like to do with the Typhon is if I have the Pink Wiggler or the Redoer and there are materials underneath it, slap this on, have like 2 or 3 materials on this, which makes sure that you can use it multiple times over multiple turns. So yeah. And then the final 3 cards, I am on the Ptolemaeus package this time. I don't always like it, but if Draw and Lock is already kind of prevalent in the format, this is actually really good. A lot of players are also like more on evenly matched right now, so with Durndal you have an out for the evenly matched as well. So it kind of doubles up as to, like, if you summon this turn 1 and you have a Draw and Lock, if they surge, their hand is gone. So that's really important. If they just go to battle phase, you have the out for the evenly matched. So there's also that. And then the third thing why this is really good, the diamond itself. If you go up against Labyrinth and it's like turn 2, turn 3, stuff like that, you can make Ptolemaeus main phase 2, put this over it, and then you have a 3 material diamond to negate 3 dark monster effects. And it has a really good floodgate effect as well, where the opponent cannot send from the deck to the graveyard, I believe. Let's read this. Neither player can send cards from the deck to the graveyard, and any card that returns from the graveyard to the hand is banished instead. So even if they've popped like a Fire King deck, they popped their Garunix, the small one, the Ponix, and they try to add it back in their main phase, like gets banished instead, which, like, stuff like that is really fun. It's the little things that can actually make or break a game. But yeah, that's it for the extra deck. Hope you guys liked that. Oh, a small thing that can come up. This swaps around the hand. So if they use Snake Eye Ash and you don't have Draw and Lock or something, they add the Poplar, they attempt to activate it. You can chain the Durandal and swap out their hand. So if they don't draw another Poplar, like, the effect is just gone. And sometimes that can actually be game breaking. Like, sometimes it's a dud, but sometimes it's game breaking. So if you have to make that play in order to win, do it. Side deck. First things first, triple Ghost Mona and Moonlit Chill. I like this card for multiple of reasons. If you're still against Rescue Ace, this card is really good, because you can just hit the Turbulence on the summon, it cannot use its effect. Half of the time you have to do that anyway with Imperm, with Veiler, because an SP Little Knight's on the field and you want to hit it preemptively. So you do the same with the Moonlit Chill. This can also be used in your own turn. So if you have, if you're up against the deck and you see that it summons a lot on your turn, Moonlit Chill is better than Veiler, for instance. This card is really good into going into time as well, because if you use it on an opponent's monster and they get rid of that monster, they take damage. So, like, for instance, against Rescue, they summon a Turbulence, you use this card. They still want to go into their place, so they link off the Turbulence, try to resummon it with a Preventer, but they'll take 3000 damage in the process, because the Turbulence is at 3000 attack. Right now, they're only at 5k. If they use their Decode Talker Heat Soul, they go down to 4k, they go down to 3k. Another Ghost Mourner is just, it just stops their plays at that point, and you still have your Gravedigger Strap Holes. So you can kind of pivot into a burn deck with these and the Gravediggers, which is, like, it's a sneaky way to win, but it's a way to win in Traptrix. Because Gravedigger Strap Hole is a thing. You can just recycle that card and do 2000 damage multiple times. So if you have this, this can actually be pivotal. So it can really be game breaking. Next up, Skullmeister. Kind of a forgotten hand trap. No, like, things like DD Crow or Ghost Bell are often better. The thing that sets Skullmeister apart, this card hits the Big Welcome in the graveyard. Big Welcome's Grave effect straight up bounces something. So if they have a big one, like the lady, one of the ladies, and they try to bounce your Traptrix monster, that's often a thing that can make the game for them, and they get a lot of resources back because of one bounce. So if you can just Skullmeister that, stop their one play from the graveyard, that's actually really important. And this card is so important to have for the Labyrinth matchup if you are a Traptrix player, because the Lab matchup is just about whose engine is gonna go faster. If you're faster, no problem, you're gonna win it. But if they can outgrind you a bit, you're gonna have some trouble. So the Skullmeisters are really important. This also stops transaction rollback, which is also really amazing. It stops Kieran's destruction effect, which also like things like DD Crow don't really stop that, because if you try to crow one of their monsters, they can still they can even summon from the hand with Kieran. So there's always that. So the Skullmeister just stops that straight up. That's a really good card. Called by the Grave. I don't have to say anything about this. I mean, depending on the matchup, going first or going second, this can come in certain situations. And the only reason I'm not main decking it is because I prefer the Veiler over the Call by, because I might even swap in the Called by into the main deck for the Veiler if I see it fit. But I really wanted the 4th Imperm, so yeah, it's kind of a toss-up between the two, I guess. But this was really important still, so I'm side decking it. Double Soul Release. Going second against the Fire King matchup or against the Lab matchup, this can come in, just banish the resources. Like, why not? There are a lot of cards that they want to have. Don't give them to them. Just banish everything, win the grind game, go from there. 2 Triple Tactic Talents. I really like the card going second against the Fire King matchup, because they often use Flamber Dragon immediately. Just to, like... There's so many cards that they trigger really fast, and Triple Tactics Talent just gives you a profit. You can get 2 draws, you can steal something from the opponent. Like, it's really good. I don't think I have to say much about that. Card's just really good in some matchups, some scenarios. And I'm going with 1 Triple Tactics Trust in between those. A 1-off Trust seems kind of weird, but I had a lot of cards that I wanted to play as 3-offs, actually. Like the Talents, like the Soul Releases, and I didn't really find the space to go to 20 side deck cards, right? So I just decided, like, okay, I can just go Thrust, and then I can search whichever that I want. And the 1 Trust seemed fine because it acts as the 3rd one of these. It didn't need to be more. I might go for a 2nd Thrust in the future if I see it's working really well, but I don't think it's needed. And then, surprise, I'm also on 1 Monster Reborn. This seems a weird thing to do in the side deck, but if you're going second, this can be really good in reborning whatever target that you want to get out of the graveyard. If they have the Promethean Princess, like, imagine they have Promethean Princess in the graveyard, and you've already used an Ash in your turn. You can go Monster Reborn on the Promethean Princess, special summon it, reborn the Ash, and now you already have 2 materials. So with those 2 materials, you can already start making plays, which is already really fun. And it's just off of 1 Monster Reborn. At this point, like, also the Promethean Princess is just gone, so you can actually make your plays without fearing that kind of interruption already. And I think that's a good way to deal with that as well. Monster Reborn also functions like if, for example, you summon the Myrmelio, use its effect, get a trap, make Serra with it, Monster Reborn the Myrmelio, special summon it, mandatory effect to trigger, destroy a spell or trap. Serra triggers, set a trap. That's full combo. So in combination with your Traptrix monsters, this is also really good. Like with a Pudica, you can just summon the Serra, you have a field spell already, use Monster Reborn on the Pudica, banish one of their monsters, and you have 2 monsters now to go into a SP Little Knight, for instance. So yeah, the Monster Reborn actually lets you play through a lot of stuff. And it can actually functions like as a mini soul release, because you get something out of their grave that you don't want them to have. And it's searchable at Thrust, so that's also a thing. It's kind of like playing 2 Monster Reborns. And then the final cards from the side are 2 different dimension grounds. I'm siding these in going first against like the Fire King deck, with a Thrust as well. So if I get hand trapped and I don't have any plays left, I can just set this, and it's really hard for the Fire King deck to play through a different dimension ground going second into a field. So I thought that would be important. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, that's the side deck. That was the entire deck. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, maybe leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe to my channel. I mean, I don't get paid for this stuff, but it's fun to show. So yeah, I hope you guys liked it. And next week, I'm probably going to do a recap of the tournament with a shorter deck list and my thoughts and processes. So I hope I'll do good that tournament, but we'll see that. So yeah. In any case, see you guys in the next one. Ciao.